Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I paint a realistic eye in oil paint in under 7 minutes. For the background, I'm using a gray tone linen canvas panel that I painted a wash on the night before using raw sienna thinned with Gamsol. You don't need to do this extra step, but I find it makes things easier when it comes to judging your values better. For my skin tones, I'm using a mix of yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, and cadmium red light mixed with Williamsburg Flake White, which is a beautiful color for making portraits. If you're worried about toxicity of lead, there are a lot of good lead white replacements out there, but I find the gentle nature of it really enhances my work, as titanium white can be overpowering at times, leading to chalky colors, especially if you add too much. Depending on how dark or light your shadows are, you'll want to either add more ultramarine blue or cadmium red light to your mix. I like to get a good base of colors ranging from darkest to lightest. Here I'm layering in my colors, blocking in my darkest values first. You'll want to avoid over blending on your painting or your colors will get muddy. Don't worry about fine details at this point, just focus on getting your values blocked in correctly first. I like to think of my painting as different colored shapes, which really helps me get a better sense of the right values. For the iris, if you've got brown eyes like me, you'll want to avoid painting the area a single color, but rather a blend of different shades. I'm layering in my darkest areas first with black, which I pre-mixed using a blend of ultramarine blue and burnt umber for the shadows. This really helps to not over darken your shadows like you get if you use an ivory or a Mars black. For the edges, I'm using transparent oxide brown and Viridian to paint the outer rim. Once you're done painting your darkest values, now is a good time to add highlights if you're working alla prima style. If you want to build up your painting in several layers, let this one dry for a few days before adding another layer on top of it. I find when I'm painting skin tones especially, it helps to work in several layers, as it almost gives your painting a glass-like effect, which makes it look more realistic. A lot of the old masters paintings you'll see have several layers which they glaze over top one another, and it just helps to add a certain extra depth to your portraits. Once you're happy with the way your colors look, you can add eyelashes at this point. It's important not to make them look too similar to each other, as that makes it look less realistic. I find it helps to follow the contours of the eye and the individual lashes based on the angle of the eyelid. You want to angle them downwards, but try not to make them too thick. Here I'm using a soft liner brush. For this portion of the eye, I'm adding blue tones and a soft white glow around the iris to make it look more polished and complete. These small changes will have a big impact on your finished piece. If you find that the whites of the eye look too light, you can glaze some shadows in like I'm doing here. Just be careful not to overdo it. For this part, I dip my brush in paint and wipe out as much excess as possible. You can do this as many times as you want, just be sure to wait enough time between layers to allow the painting to fully dry or your glaze will come off. There's a lot of soft, subtle shadows surrounding the iris. The more you darken those areas, the more realistic your eye will look. If you overdo it, just add a bit more white to bring out the highlights. Here I'm adding a soft glow of ultramarine blue and cremnitz white above the eyelid. At this stage, transparent colors are your friends, so don't be afraid to add thin layers. This will really help give the skin tones more depth to them. I like to wipe off the excess with a rag if you find that you add too much. When you're building up your painting in layers, it's important to oil out between them, as some colors such as your earth tones dry to a more matte finish. I like to use a 50-50 blend of linseed oil and Gamsol. This will give your painting a more unified look once it's finished. This was one of my favorite parts of making this painting. I didn't have a single hair brush on hand, so here I'm using one of my cat's whiskers he generously dropped for me to finish adding my eyelashes. When it comes to creativity, don't be afraid to try new things and use any tools at your disposal. Here I'm slightly reshaping the upper portion of my eyelid to make it look closer to my reference photo. Adding these small changes here and there can make a big difference in your final painting, so if you're not happy with the way something looks, trust your intuition and change it to your heart's desire. Here I'm just making sure the upper part of my eyelid is the right shape. I didn't like the way it turned out initially, so right now I'm reshaping it, just making sure all the colors are unified. I find that my eye has a sharp angle pointing downwards, but everybody's eye is different. So when you're shaping the brow, you want to make sure you follow the contours of your eye to make sure that everything stays in perspective. And there you guys have it, a realistic eye painting with oils in under 7 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you do, please be sure to like and share the video as it helps me out a lot, and subscribe for more painting tutorials including tips and tricks. I'm going to be uploading shorts soon, but if you made it this far, you're a real one and I appreciate you. Feel free to check out my website as I sell high quality prints of my work for anyone out there who's interested.